Plus, Culinary Crafts shows us how to make New Year's treats like tuna tartare and corn cakes when we come back.
Speaking of New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, I think we're heading to the kitchen with some ideas of what you could be cooking up.
That's right. Yes, here we are in the kitchen, and I'm joined by two very able-bodied men. I've got Executive Chef Marco, let me get your name right, Nicole from Culinary Crafts, and Kaleb Crafts from Culinary Crafts. It's a big catering company based out of Orem, but you say serving the Wasatch Front and beyond.
All over the Wasatch Front, all over Utah.
Yeah. And Breck mentioned New Year's Eve. We're getting you set for your New Year's Eve party. You've got a few great ideas.
We have some foreign hors d'oeuvres for you here today. We're going to be demonstrating all things that will be very simple, very easy. You can do in the comfort of your own home, but things that will still be extremely delicious and will have your guests raving all evening.
Wow, this is fun. I see you have some fancy cheeses. You've already sliced up some apples. And what's this you've got over here on the right?
This is an edible Asian spoon. This is what we're going to put our ahi tuna tartare in a little bit later on.
Okay, all right, so we'll get to that. Where do you want to start?
Well, you know, let's start with a new twist on an old favorite. Everybody at some point has come home and had their mother give them apples and cheese as an afternoon snack.
Sure.
Well, this is just that, but all grown up.
Yeah, a little gourmet.
Yeah. At Culinary Crafts, we're lucky enough that we have our friends up at Beehive Cheese in Ogden. Once a year, they let us come up to their facility. We make our own artisan cheeses there on site. So today we're doing some of my favorites. It's a chocolate chili pepper dry rub and a smoked jalapeno cheddar.
Wow.
We're going to put both of those just on a Mountain Land Utah apple. And you have local products on a local apple. And it's going to be a delicious hors d'oeuvre. Extremely simple, take you about 5 minutes to put together, and there you go. Yeah, obviously, if you don't have access to a smoked jalapeno cheddar, you can go down to your local market and just in the artisan cheese section and find, you know, just about anything. A nice dill Havarti or a cranberry Stilton will work perfectly for this.
All right, so some good ideas. Get some fancy cheeses. These are some good selections here, and I like that you're using the local products. That's always an option. All right, what else are we working on here? Marco's
actually frying up a roasted Utah corn cake for us right now. Marcos, tell us a little bit about that corn cake.
Yeah,
what we got here is a lovely corn cake that we keep it very simple. That's the idea here, is that for the holidays, you don't want to be in the kitchen all day, so this is something that could be even done ahead of time.
These look like little pancakes.
Exactly, yeah, but a little more intense.
A little more sophisticated for your palate. There we go. This is not a pancake.
We're going to finish this with a Drake family goat cheese and a Utah honey.
Wow.
So this is what we have going here. And then we're also going to do a tuna tartare for you today.
Okay.
The key here is to start off with a high-grade, sushi-grade tuna that we have come in every day. And then simply
slice it up thin,
Yep, real thin.
Well, as he's starting to cut this, I don't want to cut you off, but we are going to get back to Culinary Crafts here and find out what happens next. That's the next step. So a little tease for you. Stay tuned to find out even more. And if you're planning that big New Year's Eve soiree, this is the place you want to be. We've got all those tips coming up here on 2 News.
And we'll finish up these gourmet New Year's treats. That's coming up next.
On the weather front, we're good. Of course, we want to know in the kitchen front as we prepare for New Year's Eve and the parties, what are we going to be cooking up?
Yeah, that's right, Breck. You know, boy, the weather looks great for this New Year's Eve. And, of course, we have Culinary Crafts here, a local catering company. They're joining us. Lots of good stuff. I notice here the presentation. Boy, this is pretty amazing. Presentation is everything a lot of times when you're serving.
Presentation is always important. And in this case, with these hors d'oeuvres, you could serve these butler passed as a nice option to greet your guests. In our case, we decided to set up a little buffet so that when your guests come into the living space, they have something nice there to greet them. And you could we've gone with a very contemporary, modern look. You could use fresh flowers, really just about anything to give your buffet a nice touch.
Tell us a little bit about what you have here and just kind of the different, and how you've arranged it. I noticed you already made some of them here already.
Yeah, so earlier in the segment we showed Chef Marco Nicoli making our ahi tuna tartare. A tartare is a raw fish dish that then uses an acid. In our case, we've used a citrus to kind of cook that fish. So it's almost like a ceviche that we've then served in an Asian spoon that's edible. If you don't have access to an edible Asian spoon, you could go down to your local Asian market or the dollar store, pick up an actual porcelain Asian spoon to serve that in instead. This one up here, we've got a roasted Utah corn cake, and we've stayed local here as well. We've used a Drake Family Farms goat cheese, as well as a local Utah honey on top of that, and then just garnished with some green onions to give a little bit of color and life there to that. And then our last one, of course, the traditional apples and cheese with a nice artisan cheese that we make here in-house, and again, a local Utah Mountain Land apple.
So this is just as simple as basically cutting an apple and getting some nice
As simple as
cheese?
That, but if you want to try one and tell me if it tastes as simple as that.
Does it taste, really, does it? So what kind of cheese are we talking about here?
So these cheeses we actually make here, Culinary Crafts makes these up at Beehive Cheese.
That kind of going together,
Yeah,
but it actually works really well.
Yeah. So you've got a chocolate chili pepper dry rubbed cheese there, and our other one's a smoked jalapeno.
All right, great. And you were making up some of the examples here of
Corn
what you
cakes.
have.
Earlier we talked about how it's important that we stay simple with all the holidays going on. So we wanted to stay with a simple, something you can do even ahead of time, like these corn cakes, and then warm up right before your party or your family get together, and have them ready, and just has Kaleb set them up here.
And if you didn't have time to make a corn cake, you didn't want to make the batter up, you could serve this on something as as simple as a water cracker or even a tortilla chip. And that you just go to the local store and it makes it even quicker and easier. You don't have to actually make the batter. Won't be quite as delicious as our cumin corn cake, but it'll still be excellent.
All right, well, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate that. Guys here from Culinary Crafts joining us, all kinds of great things, great ideas, of course, for the
Thanks for
upcoming New
having
Year's
us.
Eve and everything.